necessary for me to propose the bill for an act to establish a federal college of education in Osun State. The truth is, the amount of money that is spent by state governments in this republic on providing primary and tertiary education are humongous, with the consequence that most state governments have very little money left to do a good job with running tertiary education establishments. Unfortunately, in the case of Osun, from the very day that that state was created, it inherited numerous tertiary institutions belonging to the state. It inherited two polytechnics, one at Esauke and one at Ire. It inherited two colleges of education, one at Ilesha and one at Ilorin. In hindsight, the military government should have combined the two polytechnics from day one. They should have combined the two colleges of education from day one, because these institutions were owned by a larger entity, the old Oyo state, that comprised of the present Osun and Oyo. To now ask the smaller entity, Osun, to inherit all of them meant a big burden on the limited resources of Osun. Unfortunately, politicians sometimes find it very difficult to make tough choices. If you ask them to close down the one at Ilesha and leave the one at Ila, every Ijesha person will say, okay, Chief Bisi Akande has now used his position as this and that to give Ila advantage over Ilesha. If on the contrary you say, close the one in Ila and leave the one in Ilesha, every Ila person will say, oh, Chief Bisi Akande, you see, he doesn't even care for his own people. He has closed the one in his own hometown. The same argument will run for the polytechnic. Oh, if you close the one at Esauke, we'll say, okay, Bola Ige has died. They don't remember him again. That's why they close it down. If you close the one in Ire, they will say it's because Papalapi have died. If I was governor, from day one, I would have negotiated the communities to let us combine the schools. If they don't agree, I will ask the Imam of Ilesha, the Imam of Ilorin, the Imam of Esauke, the Imam of Ire, the bishops, and the Obas, the chairman of the association of the progressive, whatever, of the communities to come to the stadium. Head or tail, head Ilesha, tail Ilorin, I'll flip it. Whichever one hand, I will close the other one down. That day. I do the same thing for the polytechnics. If I was governor, I would have closed one of them down. Because the truth is, Osun does not have the financial muscle to maintain 6 tertiary institutions. Osun is the only state in this republic that can say it owns 2 universities, it owns 2 polytechnics, it owns 2 colleges of education. And Osun can't even run one of them properly. So what I am therefore saying is, look, if Osun wants to have a college of education, let it have one. Let it combine Ila and Ilesha, move everything to Ilesha. Let the federal government now have a federal college of education. So what we will have is the federal university in Osun is already in your senatorial district, that is in Osun East. The polytechnic in Osun that belongs to the federal government is in Ede, that is Osun West. So the only senatorial constituency that does not have a federal tertiary institution is Osun Central. That's why I'm making the case for Ilorin, and I believe it's a logical case. President, I also would not have assented to that bill. The reason is simple. We have not funded the Nigerian police well. After the Nigerian police, we established road safety corps that used to do what the traffic division of the Nigerian police was doing. After establishing that, we established civil defense. And quite recently, we in fact went as far as giving the civil defense the capability to bear arms. And there are other para-police entities in the Nigerian Republic, each of which are very poorly funded. So what the president argued was that, one, there are existing agencies that can do what this new Peace Corps is supposed to do. Is it not the duty of the police anywhere in the world to maintain peace and order? We have come to a level of desperation in Nigeria where we think that the only way in which we can solve problems is to establish a new body to do the same old thing. And unfortunately, because we don't have more money, what happens in the end is that the same pool of money that you used to give to 5 agencies, you now distribute to 6 or 7 agencies, leaving each of them very poorly funded. I agree with the president, and I'm sure that by the grace of God, we will not have the vote to override the veto of the president.
Yes, sir. Considering the quest of Mr. President for job creation,
yes,
and this organization has generated so much employment or they have enough members all over Nigeria, and the president, according to some sources, they have been spending about 15 billion on Empower. Why not translate that to fund some of these organizations?
No. Number one, the job of government across the world is not to directly create jobs. The job of government is to create environment that will allow the creative energy of the people to be unleashed in such a way that the private sector will create jobs. You know, those who are familiar with Nigerian history will remember that when the Civil War broke in 1967, it was difficult to get Yoruba people to leave regional civil service, public service, to come and serve in federal public service. You know why? Because the conditions of service in Western Nigeria were superior to that of the federal government. Only the Western region of Nigeria began free medical service for civil servants, way ahead of any other region, way ahead of the federal government. Simon Adebo, who was the Secretary of Government of Obafemi Awolowo, left to become the director at UNITA, the United Nations Institute for Training and Research. Western Nigeria dominated the public service as far as the best of men. That's the truth. But the fact of the matter is that because Western Nigeria provided better conditions of service, Western Nigerians were not too keen on going to serve in the federal bureaucracy. But with the explosion of our population, everybody now, and with the arrival of oil, if oil had belonged to Delta and Akwa Ibom and Rivers and such states, such that only a portion of it goes to the federal government, those states will have far better conditions of service than the federal government. Most people who are very well talented in advanced countries do not ask to work in the public service unless their family history and their own propensity is towards public service. If what you want to do is have a good life with plenty of money, you want to go to Microsoft, you want to go to Facebook, you want to go to Texaco, you want to go to Dell, you want to go to Boeing, you want to go to Delta Airlines. You don't want to go and work for the state of Mississippi or work for the state of New York or work for the federal government of New York. of the USA. So the point I'm saying is, the reason that all of us are looking for federal jobs is because our private sectors are so limited and have not been expanded. If Ikeja was what it was in the 50s and 60s and have been replicated all over Nigeria, most Nigerians will not want to go and take level 8. Ask yourself, can anybody earning less than level 15 live comfortably in Abuja? My own staff, I see them, the salary we pay them cannot pay their rent in this Abuja. So why are they here? And in addition to paying rent, they still have to transport themselves to work. Abi? They still have to feed themselves. They still have to save for the future. They still have to contribute money towards a savings account for their own children and to buy a house. The truth is that what the federal government should do is not create this employment that is nothing but a form of slavery. Most Nigerian workers are slaves. The money, the income they get is not sufficient to give them what you call life. What we have is subsistence. Just patch on until one day you die on the road to Kubwa. That's all it is. But what the government is saying therefore is this. You say all that money used, believe you me, that money will be better used to build roads. That money will be better used to subsidize fertilizers to farmers. I grew up in a western region where every division had a Greek extension service where you could buy eggs, where you could buy fish. Young farmers clubs were established throughout secondary schools in western region. Today, all that have died. And the result is that if you wait here now, within the next 10 minutes, somebody else will come in who has been told that if they get a letter from their senator, they will get a job. And it's a lie. If I don't write it, they will say I'm a bad person. Look at him with all his beard. All he knows how to speak is to speak English. He cannot give us a letter. So all of them who come, I give them letters. But the letters have no efficacy. If I write a letter, do you think the man next door will not write? Do you think the man there will not write? 109 of us write letters. Do you think you are the only one I will write for? If you come from Oshogbo, I will write for you. You come from Ikirun, I will write for you. Otanigba, you I will write. Me alone, for one single job, I write 12 letters. So will all the other ones. Will you get letters? It's a lie. But, you know, those who are desperate would like to hatch on to any straw they can find. So if you are talking of job creation, it is not by creating a peace corps that cannot maintain peace. If we want peace, what we need to do is strengthen the Nigerian police, strengthen the Nigerian civil defense, strengthen existing agencies, if need be, even combine them, so that you have lean operations where money can be used for infrastructure, not just keeping people on payroll. Why do you think our police are on the roadside doing nothing but collecting 20 naira, 15 naira? It's because they are poorly paid. And I don't know if it is true or not, but the conventional wisdom out there is that those people collecting all these tithes and offerings, I call them, on the roadside, go back to report to their bosses. These are the sad facts of Nigeria. So if you want to create jobs, buy tractors for our young people, so that you will not have people using the same implement that Adam and Eve used in the Garden of Eden to farm. You know, I went to Calabar. I like this story all the time. They told me that if you go to Calabar, you find plenty of fish. So I went to Calabar because, you know, I had a company that used to smoke fish. When I got to Calabar, you know what I found? Basket, plastic, with fish in them. The kind that the sons of Zebedee, no. Peter and Andrew, James and John were carrying when Jesus called them to become fishers of men. That's not what they had. By contrast, go to Georgetown, Guyana, British Guyana. General Yakubu Gowon paid the civil servants of Grenada and Guyana in 1972. They were so poor that we were the one paying their salary. Go to Guyana. As far as the eyes can see, you will see ships carrying nothing but fish. Where are these fish from? The Atlantic Ocean. The same Atlantic that we have in Lagos is what they have in Guyana. And anybody can go and bring fish. So actually, it's better for us to give Dangote and give Hebrew and give those who can buy trawlers to go there and bring fish. Bring them in their millions of tons instead and sell the fish subsidized because you've been given money. Than for you to say the way you are going to create job is you create Peace Corps so that those Peace Corps can again stand by the roadside to molest our people. Go and stand in front of Eagle Square. You see so many vehicles that their plate number are faded. Road Corps will not arrest them. Civil service doesn't see anything. Civil defense doesn't see anything wrong with it. Police not arrest them. You can't try that in any serious country. That's what is wrong. Those who call us giants of Africa call us that, and we enjoyed being called that because we are the most populous country in Africa. 1 out of every 4 Africans is a Nigerian. Nigeria alone accounts for over 60% of the population of West Africa. So because of our numerical strength, were there to be a crisis in Nigeria that will completely disrupt the entire continent of Africa, beginning with the West African sub-region. That came. And then for a long time, Nigeria was a prosperous part of Africa. Not only do we have fertile land, I just came back from Kebbi. People from southern Nigeria enjoy referring to the north as desert. The truth is that the north is the breadbasket of Nigeria. Because what most people don't realize is that whereas too little water is drought and is bad for agriculture, too much water is also bad for agriculture. It causes erosion, leaches your soil, and what you have are just clay that cannot grow anything. And when you look at most parts of southern Nigeria, you can't even use tractors there because they will get stuck in the clay soils. But the abundance of human resources in comparison with other African countries, the abundance of minerals, the abundance of fertile land is the reason, and among other, and above all, until recently, the abundance of water resources. Nigeria itself is named after a river, Niger area. Of the 36 states of Nigeria, by far the majority are named after river. Lagos means lagoon, is Portuguese for lagoon. Ogun is a river. Osun is a river. Delta and so on and so forth. Kaduna, Anambra, and Co. So we have ample water resources that not only can give our people water to drink, but can facilitate agriculture, such as irrigation and so on and so forth. So compare with, say, Eritrea or Mali or Burkina Faso. So it's okay to call us giant of Africa, but you know, we don't live on this planet with Africans alone. We share a shrinking planet. And when I say shrinking, I'm talking of in terms of resources and in terms of the time it will take to reach one point to the other. We share the same planet with Japanese, with Danes, with Czechs, with the French, with the English, with the Americans, with Russians. And compare with them, we are pathetically poor. The entire budget of Nigeria is less than $30 billion. That is the budget of 3 Ivy League universities in America. That is, by the time you combine the budget of Harvard and Yale and maybe Princeton, you have already accounted for the budget of the entire Republic of Nigeria. So if you were to divide that money among all of the Nigerians, no Nigerian will have more than maybe 67 cents per day, less than $1. So we are poor. And most Nigerians don't recognize the fact that we are poor, because when they announce your budget, they announce in trillions. And a trillion is you add 12 zeros. But $8 trillion is only about $24 billion. When Harvard alone spends $12 billion per annum. So let's see the picture. So how can we go back to those days? Look, we can't go back there overnight. Because the truth is that in those days, the population was far less than what it is now. I made the point one time on the floor of the Senate that when the British came to Nigeria a little over 100 years ago, Britain had twice the population of Nigeria. By the time they were living in 1960, Nigeria and Britain had almost the same population. Now, Nigeria is almost twice the population of Britain. And in the next 20 years, Nigeria will be 4 times the population of Britain. During that time of the explosion of population growth of human beings, the economy of Britain has made quantum leap of growth, geometrical growth. That is, 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, it becomes 64, and so on and so forth. Whereas our growth there is either arithmetic. 1 becomes 2, 2 becomes 3, 3 becomes 4. And sometimes it stays on the spot or even comes down. With the consequence that for the number of people we have, we are in serious trouble. Unfortunately, we are religious people. We believe that God will do it. God will not do anything. If you have more people than your resources, what you will have is starvation, and heaven will be smiling at you, because heaven knows that poor people should suffer. That's what we are seeing. I agree with you. What we are seeing in Nigeria right now is the harvest of years and decades of poor leadership. And whether we like it or not, that is the bane of what we are suffering right now. But the mistake all of us must not make is the mistake that most politicians make and we want people to make. And that is to believe that if a problem took decades to create, that you can solve them in months. It doesn't work that way. If you want to now have a refinery, it doesn't matter what magic you want to do. You cannot do a refinery in less than 5-6 years. The materials you're going to use are not even here. You want to build a university. I mean, we woke up one day, we established 8 and 9 universities in one single day. Where in the world is that done? Where is the money to run them? Where are the human resources to staff them? So you put people who cannot become professors in one university, you make them professors now. So you keep lowering the standard. When in fact, what we ought to do is to gradually increase these things and to train people. Had we been faithful to our second national development plan, in which, thanks to Yakubu Gowon and Obafemi Awolowo, every child in secondary school was to get 40 naira from the national account, and every child in primary school was to get 10 naira, because that was the cost of providing that level of education at the time. But in 1980, when the Shagari regime came, because they wanted a way to undermine the UPN states, they removed those funds. And what happened? They couldn't remove the funds from the UPN state alone. They removed it from every state of the then 19 states. So what happened? Whether it's Gongola or Borno or Imo or the then Oyo Ogun, everybody suffered it. The consequences is that our children who ought to have been nourished in good schools who are no longer going to school because the state could not maintain those schools. That's what gave us Boko Haram. Children who have never gone to school, children who are easy to twist and brainwash because they have not been given hope of a better tomorrow. But I believe all of us are seeing the harvest of past negligence and neglect. I believe we will work hard to recreate a new Nigeria where we can salvage this problem. It transcends politics. It means all of us must embrace a new attitude in which we say, this is a crisis. We can't solve it overnight, but we must give all it takes to solve it. God bless you.